The bridge of the Zephyrian command vessel. Stellar harmony trembled as another volley of plasma fire struck their shields. Admiral Kethvar's 4 eyes tracked the tactical display with growing desperation. The Void Hunters had surrounded the refugee fleet, 300 ships carrying the last survivors of 12 worlds. "Sir, our weapons are having minimal effect," reported Commander Yix, her crystalline voice cracking with strain. "Their adaptive armor is learning our attack patterns." Kethvar's mandibles clicked in frustration. The Void Hunters were relentless, a machine race that consumed entire star systems, converting organic matter into fuel for their endless expansion. They had already devoured half the galaxy, and now they had found the Zephyrian Exodus fleet. "How long until they break through our defensive perimeter?" Kethvar asked. 17 minutes, sir. Maybe less." The Admiral closed his eyes. 3 centuries of civilization, millions of lives, about to be snuffed out by an enemy that felt nothing, learned everything, and never stopped. They had sent distress signals across known space, but who would be foolish enough to engage the Void Hunters? "Sir." Communications Officer Zil Anna's voice cut through the bridge's tense atmosphere. "I'm detecting a massive hyperspace signature. Something's coming out of jump. Now!" The view screen filled with impossible sight. A sleek vessel, smaller than their smallest frigate, materialized directly between the refugee fleet and the Void Hunter armada. Its hull was an odd patchwork of metals and composites clearly built for function over form. "What species builds ships like that?" whispered Commander Yix. Before Kethvar could respond, a transmission crackled through their communications array. The voice was young, confident, and speaking in perfect galactic standard despite the obvious alien accent. "This is Lieutenant Mino Chen of the Terran Colonial Navy ship Defiant. We received your distress signal. Sorry we're late to the party." Terran? Kethvar had never heard of the species. "Unknown vessel, you must retreat immediately. The Void Hunters will adapt to your weapons within minutes. We cannot—" "With respect, Admiral," another voice interrupted. Male, equally young but with a hint of reckless humor. "We didn't come all this way just to watch. I'm James Rodriguez, and trust me, we humans have a few tricks these machines haven't seen before." The Void Hunters had already redirected their attention to the newcomer. A dozen of their largest vessels began converging on the tiny human ship, their adaptive hulls already shifting to counter whatever conventional weapons they expected. What happened next defied everything the Zephyrians thought they knew about space combat. The human ship didn't fire energy weapons. Instead, it launched what appeared to be simple metal projectiles, primitive kinetic rounds that should have been useless against Void Hunter armor. But these weren't ordinary projectiles. The first round struck a Void Hunter destroyer, and instead of bouncing harmlessly off the adaptive hull, it punched straight through. The machines had adapted to defend against energy weapons, not solid matter moving at incredible velocities. "Impossible," breathed Commander Yix. "No species uses kinetic weapons in space combat. They're too slow, too inaccurate." Another salvo from the Defiant proved her wrong. Each shot found its mark with surgical precision, and the Void Hunters' adaptive armor was useless against the physics of high-velocity metal. "How are they achieving such accuracy?" Kethvar demanded. The answer came through the comm channel, as Mino's voice rang out with fierce joy. "Target their reactor cores. James, these tin cans can't adapt to good old-fashioned Newtonian physics." "Already on it," James replied. "Railgun systems online. Let's show them what happens when humans get creative with their violence." The Defiant danced between the Void Hunter vessels with impossible agility, its unconventional engines producing thrust vectors that seemed to defy tactical prediction. Where Zephyrian ships moved in elegant, predictable arcs, this human vessel jerked and twisted like a living thing, making targeting solutions nearly impossible. But it was more than just the weapons and maneuvers that horrified the watching aliens. It was the humans themselves. As the battle intensified and the Void Hunters began to overwhelm their small ship, the 2 human voices never lost their edge of excitement. They laughed as plasma fire scorched their hull. They whooped with joy when their impossible shots found their marks. Most disturbing of all, they started singing, some primitive human war chant that spoke of glory and death and fighting against overwhelming odds. "They're enjoying this," whispered Commander Yix, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and terror. "They're actually enjoying combat with the Void Hunters." The tide of battle began to shift. The Defiant's unconventional tactics were working. Void Hunter ships, designed to adapt to any weapon system, were being systematically destroyed by technology they couldn't counter and maneuvers they couldn't predict. More human ships began dropping out of hyperspace, a full battle group of the same patchwork vessels. Each one immediately joined the fray with the same reckless enthusiasm as the first. "This is Captain Sarah Mitchell of the Terran Battle Group." "Omega," came a new voice, older but no less fierce. "Sorry, kids, but Command decided you were having too much fun without us." "About time, Captain." Mino's voice crackled with static from combat damage. "James and I were just getting warmed." "Up!" The Zephyrians watched in stunned silence as the human fleet tore through the Void Hunter armada like apex predators unleashed on prey. These weren't the careful, measured tactics of civilized warfare. This was something primal and terrifying, the fury of a species that had clawed its way to the stars through countless millennia of violence and struggle. Within an hour, it was over. The Void Hunter fleet lay in ruins, their adaptive technology useless against an enemy that fought with passionate creativity rather than cold logic. As the last Hunter ship exploded in a brilliant flare of light, Admiral Kethvar found himself staring at the human vessels with a mixture of gratitude and deep, instinctive fear. "Admiral," came Mino's voice, now calm and professional again, "your convoy is secure. We'll escort you to the Terran colonial borders. You'll be safe there." "Why?" Kethvar managed to ask. "Why did you risk everything for strangers?" There was a pause before James answered, his young voice carrying an ancient wisdom. "Because that's what humans do, sir. We fight the monsters, so others don't have to." The aliens watched as the human ships formed up around their refugee fleet, and for the first time in their long retreat from the Void Hunters, the Zephyrians felt truly safe. They also understood, with crystalline clarity, that humanity was not a species to be trifled with. They were the apex predators of the galaxy, and they had just chosen to be protectors instead of conquerors. The universe would never be the same.